What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. If you missed it, I'm sure most of you probably saw it. Yesterday we had a Nintendo Direct announced. That's later on today. You should see that pop up here. I'll be doing a live stream, but that should start 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific. I'll probably go live 15 to 20 minutes ahead of time to give everybody a chance to get in the room and everything, and we should have a lot of fun. It's going to be really interesting. People are now speculating everywhere about this Nintendo Direct, but we should see at least a few new announcements. This isn't a Direct Mini, so we should see something new, I guess, shown, and then obviously we're going to find out more about, well, some franchises that we've seen but don't know anything about really their game. Fire Emblem is the one that comes to mind, but I would also expect Yoshi to be there in some way with a release date. Hopefully, Fire Emblem, they just need to show us the game, right? That's about it. But we also have, from yesterday, a bunch of stuff to get into. Retro Studios had a LinkedIn profile that was found that may give us at least a little bit of an idea as to what they're working on, which is exciting. Whenever I hear Retro Studios, I get excited. And then, well, the fans around Chrono Trigger on Steam decided to take matters in their own hands, and they're going to take a shot at fixing it because Square Enix, while they're talking a lot, not really a lot of action is happening. So today, guys, let's get started. Now, we're going to start today with the Media Create sales charts. Of course, these are charts over in Japan that track physical sales in Japan. This is for the week of February 26th to March 4th. Now, what does that include? Well, it includes the end of the Switch's first total year on retail shelves. That, of course, was March 3rd. So this is going to give us an idea of how many units Nintendo managed to sell in 1 year just in Japan. You're going to see first, though, the top 10. So we're going to start with top 10 games. You're going to see right here. Monster Hunter, of course, still at the top. Number 1, 38,617 units. It is starting to tail off, though, and it may actually fall out of the top spot soon, especially with Kirby right around the corner. 1.9 million units there. It will be crossing that 2 million mark probably in the next few weeks. Big accomplishment there for Capcom. Awesome to see. On the Nintendo Switch, Dragon Quest Builders did debut to 28,430 units. That was good for the second spot, as you see. Splatoon 2 at number 3. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Zelda Breath of the Wild is coming up on 900,000 units just on the Switch. If you add the Wii U's numbers in there, it has eclipsed over 1 million. What's interesting here, though, is Zelda Breath of the Wild on the Switch crossing 1 million units. That's a big deal, as you don't see that very often. Remember, we compared it to Ocarina of Time relatively recently after it and its Wii U counterpart added together is getting close to that anyway. But it is, at this point, with the Wii U's help, the second best selling Zelda since being tracked in Japan alone. Metal Gear Survive is still in the top 10, but it has fallen from the number 3 spot down to the number 6 spot, 12,574. Mario Odyssey there at number 7. Below that, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon tracked together at number 8. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege Advanced Edition, number 9. And then Girls Panzer Dream Tank Match at number 10. Jumping over to hardware, Nintendo Switch at the top, 45,083. That is up from 39,696 units the week prior. PS4 there, number 2, 26,569. That is, again, down. It has been dropping pretty much along with Monster Hunter. The PS4 has been dropping with it. The 3DS, 11,340, within margin of error last week, so no real gain or loss there. The Vita jumped up about 1,500 units from last week at 6,518. Xbox One, again, within margin of error last week, 264. The big thing to take away here for the Switch is, in its first year, it did 3.8 million units just in Japan. That's a big deal. Why is that a big deal? Well, compare it to the PS4, 1.1 million in Japan in its first year. So that means the Switch effectively more than tripled the PS4's first year sales. That pretty much tells us, yeah, Japan loves the Switch. I think it's pretty obvious. It does cater to that market first with its portability over pretty much every other market. So this isn't surprising, I don't think. And what's very interesting here is, if it already tripled the PS4's first year sales, there is a chance that we might actually see it either eclipse or come close to the PS4's lifetime sales by the end of its second year. Now, if it sells the same, or maybe even a little better, because it depends on when Pokemon comes out. Trust me, when Pokemon comes out, it's going to be a big deal there for Switch. Now, if it does that, though, we could see it over easily 7 million units, 7.5 million units in just its second year. That becomes kind of the 3DS territory at that point. And we see the 3DS over 20 million there. What happens then with the Switch? Could that be a 20 million seller in Japan alone? I think it's possible. And then at that point, you start to look at things like the PS4's life-to-date numbers now, and maybe that's where the Switch is in the next 4 or 5 years. It's very interesting to see. However, it's pretty clear, yes, it has Japan pretty much on lockdown, as most of us would expect with the way it caters to that audience. Next up, let's talk a bit about Retro Studios. We've been wondering, what are they doing? A lot of people like Retro after their success with the Metroid Prime series, right? Did a great job with Donkey Kong back on the Wii U and the Wii and everything. Everything's been going well, but they've been missing in action for a while. We all pretty much know they're developing something. We would like to assume they're developing a new IP because I think they've earned that at this point with what they've developed so far with Nintendo giving them IPs. There is risk there, though, of course. If you have a known IP and you build off of it, you have to worry less about building a lore, or at least a massive backstory for the world you're building, and more about the game mechanics and the functions, as opposed to a big, massive story to kind of draw up and storyboard. But I think Retro has at least earned the right to do that, and I think that might be what's happening, although with this new listing, some people are kind of pointing at them maybe doing Eternal Darkness, which is kind of interesting. I still think they're doing a new IP. Anyway, what was found here on LinkedIn is very interesting. We're going to take a look at that now. Now, the passage you're seeing here was found by It Was Meant to Be 19 over on Reset Era, and what this passage pretty much shows is Retro's number 2 or number 3 writer updating their resume saying, working with a highly skilled team to bridge the gaps between game design needs and telling a compelling story in a meaningful world, finding the best ways to construct the narrative we want the player to experience with the tools and restrictions available through text, dialogue, and non-traditional storytelling. Keep that part in mind, non-traditional storytelling. Key team member for collaborative work building, story construction, IP development, point of contact for supplemental prose writing, special focus on designer collaboration for player experience storytelling, and then further down from there, there's more clarification and everything saying narrative specializations in world building, character development, design integration, non-linear storytelling, prose fiction. So there is a very strong emphasis on storytelling. I like the idea of non-linear storytelling. That's at least interesting. That kind of tells us that it might be more of an open world style game. I mean, non-linear could mean that there are branching paths as well in what is technically a linear story, but it could be like branching paths that take place depending on maybe a character dies or something, right? Maybe a decision you make influences how the story goes. It sounds like, based on this though, a non-traditional story being told through, I guess, non-traditional means. It could be Eternal Darkness. That's pretty much why a lot of people read this and immediately said, oh, they are using that Eternal Darkness trademark. Possible. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I do think Retro has been at least given the keys to create and develop their own IP, which would be a big deal. They're very good at gameplay design and creating, mechanics in games. I'm a little curious to see what they can come up with a story. That's the thing that might concern a lot of people, is what can they come up with. But we've seen what they've done with Metroid Prime, with kind of its environment. That's why Eternal Darkness seems to, I think, really mesh really well with what they're good at. But we've also seen the mechanics they've used in Donkey Kong, and yeah, they can design gameplay. It's going to come down to storytelling, but this passage was very interesting to see. Next up, let's talk about State of Decay 2. Now, State of Decay was a pretty interesting game back when it first came out. I remember playing it on the 360, and it was a fun kind of zombie survival style game that had some mild RPG elements and everything to it. Very interesting game, but the second one has some curiosity, I guess, slapped on it. Seen a bit of controversy now, and that has to do with its price. It's not a full-price AAA game. Now, the first one wasn't either, so it wasn't really that different, but I think a lot of people were expecting them to do something a little bigger with the second game, and the price tends to reflect how you view a game, right? It happens a lot. In this case, State of Decay 2 is $29.99. They're also going to have a larger version, like an Ultimate Edition, that you actually get a little early, even a few days early, at $49.99. It is coming out May 22nd, of course, for the Xbox One family of consoles, and then it also has the Play Anywhere, which means you can also play it on Windows PC if you buy it once on the Xbox, and it will be a part of the Game Pass library. So if you have Game Pass, you don't have to worry about buying it. It'll just show up in the library, you download it, you play it. It's something I really like, obviously, because $30 or even $50 is 3 to 5 months of Game Pass. Some people, of course, like just collecting their games. That's fine, too. Either way, I like the idea of State of Decay 2 following along, and I actually like it being half price, to be honest, just because you're going to get that kind of experience anyway. It's hard to say. Some people see it as saying, that's $30. It's not a big experience. That could be incorrect. There are a lot of games that are cheaper and give people a lot of fun and a lot of value. I want to say PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, but there's not a lot to that game outside of just the, I guess, the hook of the Battle Royale system. I mean, people were celebrating a second map recently, so that's not the best, I don't think, example for content, but I'll spend forever on Stardew Valley, and that's $15. I mean, it's hard to say. I would say play it before maybe you judge its content or how much is in it. Keep in mind, though, Game Pass will make it so you can play it right away without paying any money for just the game. So I'll check it out on Game Pass. I have it, and I'm actually looking forward to at least trying it out, but outside of that, we'll see. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Chrono Trigger on Steam. This has been very interesting. It's been in the news a lot because it seems like Square showed up, we've talked about it before in Newswave, and just kind of thrown the mobile port out there and said, here you go guys, you can play the phone version on your computer. And it seems like a lot of people took offense with that because you're putting it on Steam. You got PCs now, can do some pretty cool things with games, right? Ultra wide monitors, high refresh rates, really, really crisp looking visuals with high resolutions. But it seems like they just decided to throw what was a pretty ugly version of the game on on systems that are going to be playing with big monitors and everything, and it has not gone over well. In fact, at this point, the Steam community is pretty much telling Square, hey, stay out of the way. We'll fix it for you, because at this point, the modders on Steam, people who like to modify games to fix them or add stuff to it, yeah, they've taken up the reins and they're moving pretty quick right now. So what's happening is over on Steam, specifically the Steam group for modification of Chrono Trigger, Jed Lang has actually developed, in this case, a tool called CT Explore, and it lets anybody modify the game's assets. And there's actually an unofficial patch already in the works with updates everywhere called Chrono Trigger Remake Defilter. There's full updates about it and everything, and it's very interesting. They're trying to basically remove this blurriness to the game, and it can be pretty bad. I don't even think it's really, I guess, going overboard saying it is pretty ugly. And then there's a whole nother project called Chrono Trigger Restoration Project that does have pretty much patches all over the place, and they have goals as to what they are trying to accomplish. Some of the planned features you see here is they're going to try to fix up the font so it looks better. The UI, oh man, the UI needs some work because it looks like something out of RPG Maker. I've made that joke a lot, but it's not pretty to look at, and it does look like something that you would see on a cell phone or a tablet. It looks like stuff you would just seriously touch on your screen, and not a lot of work there, obviously, by Square. And it looks like it's going to keep going on and on from there. They are looking to pretty much remake this game as best as they can. And you know what? That's kind of sad, Square, that your own community is saying, you know what? Square doesn't care as much about a franchise that should just be making money hand over fist here. I mean, Chrono Trigger is a legitimate game that has stood the test of time. You can go play it now, and it's an awesome game. But you have to put time in for it, Square. You can't throw it to a bunch of people in a cubicle, like 4 or 5 people, and say, move it over, we're just going to use in this case, the phone version. You missed out big on this. Seriously, you could have sold this thing for $30 with all the bells and whistles, maybe even an extra piece of content, like an extra dungeon, and it would have sold like crazy. Word would have spread. People would have been buying this thing up all over the place. But you move the phone version over, and now at this point, there are people fixing it for free when you're the one selling it. It is kind of crazy to think about, but hey, I look forward to what these different people can mod and create because they clearly care more about it than Square does. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Newswave today. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, guys. Really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave a bunch of comments down below about everything we talked about today. Whether it is the Switch's sales in Japan, are you surprised that it managed to do so well after the Wii U did so poorly? And are you surprised that it more than tripled the PS4 sales? Maybe you are, maybe you're not. Maybe you're saying, hey, well, it was pretty much designed to sell in Japan, and so far it has done that. And what do you think is going to happen when Pokemon or Yokai Watch or any of the bigger Japanese franchises decide to show up there? It's going to be insane when Pokemon comes out. I think we all know that. I want to see what that Media Crate sales number is going to be because it's going to be astronomical. Also, let me know what you think about this Chrono Trigger situation. Are you excited that fans are kind of taking up the responsibility of fixing it? Because you know when they get started, that thing, and they really move on it and it gets finished, that thing is going to look pretty, it's going to be crisp. And that's the one thing that excites me. Although, let's be real here, Square, you're the one selling it. Maybe you should be the one fixing it, right? Add some options for all kinds of cool stuff on PC with the high resolution frame rate. Don't make it look like a blurry mess. So I'm excited, but I'm also pretty disappointed in Square at this point. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure you stop by tonight. We're going to be doing I guess later on today, at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be doing a full live stream for the Nintendo Direct, and I am excited to see what Nintendo has to announce. Always a great time when Directs happen, and well, tonight we'll get another one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.